Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, January 27th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda tonight is the presentation of the Mass Land grant check.
Hi.
How are you doing?
The reason Patrice Murphy and I are here tonight is because...
Excuse me, guys. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Go right ahead.
Is because of 97 acres off of Lake Nipmuc that are going to be preserved, and it was because of the effort of many people, and thank you guys for your support on that project. It was also, we're using CPA funds to purchase the property. And Patrice Murphy, who's a volunteer and she's not on any committees, wrote the grant proposal, which was very, very rigorous, and she put a lot of time in, and we were successful in receiving it. And the Mass Land Grant is really competitive. It's, available to every town in Massachusetts. And Mendon ended up receiving one of the largest awards in the whole state. So it was really amazing that we got that. And I think it's also a validation of the ecological value and the passive recreation value of the property. The property's in a system of like hundreds of acres that many different groups own, like the Trustees of Reservations, Southwick Zoo, the town of Mendon. And there's a trail system, which I know you've heard us mention, that many volunteers are working on. And it's eventually going to be a really valuable asset to people in Mendon. And the trail is literally going over the river and through the woods by a pond, through a farmstead, and it's very beautiful. And a lot of volunteers have helped with that, including the Mendon Boy Scouts, the Bay State Trail Riders Association, the Mendon Town Forest Committee, the Brewer family for allowing easements through their property for trail connections, the Land Use Committee, Trustees of Reservations. And the process is a little slow because it's volunteers, but once it's done, it'll be very spectacular.
Excellent.
And so we have this check for the town for $315,000, $315,630. And of course, at town meeting, we approved funding for this, and this is the reimbursement. So what we have to do before then, though, are jump through a few hoops. So it's as if a few strings are attached to this. But as Ann was mentioning, especially with my inexperience, the very short time window that we had, we only decided to write the grant in May, and it was due in July. I really appreciated the support. Diane was great in getting signatures at the last minute changes to letters and getting your signature. And similarly, the Conservation Committee was very, very helpful. So I was very impressed with the town and the sense of cooperation to get this done and to support this But with this, there are a few things that we have to accomplish before we can get the real money,
Okay.
the real deal here. And some of that is on Ann's plate for other properties.
Yeah, and then actually, one of them I want to mention to you quick, and it's the open space on the Fino property, the 24 acres that the town has, and we never put a conservation restriction on it. There's a deed restriction, but we can't receive this money until we put a conservation restriction on it. And so we added a warrant item to...
Okay, so is that the conservation restriction that envelops the river as well as the 200-foot setback along the road?
Yes.
Right. Now, I know if the conservation restriction hasn't been put on there yet, where do we stand at this point if we wanted to adjust? Because remember, we had just recently discussed that if we can leave that restricted, that 200-foot setback, but without the actual conservation restriction on it, more of a town restriction or a deed restriction, if you will, and move the conservation, and I don't know how this plays into what we're about to discuss with these guys as well, but taking that conservation restriction off of the, whatever the acreage is. We don't want to actually lose any acreage. If anything, we would maybe gain some acreage on this restriction and put it on the backside of the backland that is really undevelopable at this point. Actually does encompass, I think, some more wetlands and whatnot. So just keeping that in mind, is this, although we should have done this a long time ago, is this an opportunity for us to adjust that without having to adjust it at another time and going to state legislature to get it adjusted, I guess?
I'm going to talk to the person at the state that approves the conservation restrictions. And I think it's pretty hard to do that. You know, you can add land to the restriction. The one thing that we have in our restriction is our deed restriction is we have an easement from Route 16 to the back property, and so that you can access the town's property in the back from Route 16.
Town's property.
You know, the town, the property that for future municipal use.
Yep.
That the town could either keep for school, or they could sell.
The piece over here on the hill.
Right.
Okay.
Because the open space is just along the river, Muddy Brook, and then it's 200 feet along Route 16.
Correct.
And the open space goes on all of that frontage. And so we put an easement in the deed restriction so that at a future point, if the town wanted to build a school there or whatever, or you sold it to
There's
someone.
two entrances off of Route 16.
It's like an in and an out, but it's all together, an easement. And so I have to make sure that that's okay with the state. And
But where the conservation restriction hasn't even been in
Right.
place yet, is what I'm saying, is this a proper time to adjust that?
it might be, but the problem is that since we bought that specific property with CPA funds, you're not supposed to switch the land around, so it might be hard.
Okay, I'd like to
I'd like to
be in
explore it,
the,
too.
yeah, because I think we're not switching the land around.
Well, you'd be-
There's no
well-
conservation restriction yet.
What?
The same piece of land is in play.
So
This is something I've learned with paddock. The paddock discussion is apparently if you say this set of land is going to be used for this reason, in this
Kind
case
of,
a CR,
yeah,
you're
right.
sort of locked into it at the point where you approve the funds. I think it's still worth exploring. So if
Well-
we laid it out from the parcel to say, here's a CR, here's municipal use, here's now
Yep.
solar voltaic type of stuff, then once you use CPA funds, you're kind of locked into those parcels that way. But I'm more curious is how did that property and that conservation restriction come into play when we're talking about that grant?
because when you use CPA funds, you have to put a conservation restriction on the land, and I don't know if you remember, but it was like,
Yeah, but these are mutually exclusive. If the state
well,
hasn't.
no, because if you don't follow the rules and
Right.
you're buying open space and you're not protecting it, then they're not going to give you $315,000.
So they're just basically saying, hey, you still have to follow up on this thing you did 8 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
It's taken them 8 years to tell us that we need to follow up on it?
Well, because we haven't got a
should've.
grant before, we haven't gotten a grant for anything.
Actually, we did, though.
Yeah.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we had the $500,000 one, and they never said anything.
through?
But but anyways, I mean, it should have a conservation restriction on
we
it,
should.
but-
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I have one question in case, because I would be talking to her tomorrow. So like, how many acres would you be adding? Like, let's say you're saying.
Can I get back to you as soon as we talk to these guys?
All right,
And I
so-
can call you tomorrow morning if
Maybe.
that's
Sounds
okay?
good.
Maybe a
All right.
little later than that. I'm not sure we'll know right away either.
Well, no, because it plays into,
Right.
because I will know how much they want to use.
Right.
All right.
Okay, so we can talk about this more, but.
Sure.
We do have to get a conservation restriction, maybe on all the property, maybe we can switch it, but.
I understand,
you know,
yeah. We at least
so-
have to do what we intended to do, no matter what, to receive this grant, which I completely understand. At this point, where there isn't a conservation restriction, if we can make that adjustment now, I think that I would still want to, we would want to have, I know we can talk about this more tomorrow, but whatever is in that 200-foot buffer right now, we would still want to maintain that, listen, we don't want a building on the edge of the street here. We still want to maintain that 200-foot buffer. I just don't know that if we can adjust the conservation restriction to the back piece, might be more beneficial to the conservation restriction.
You can always add. I mean, it just, if you're taking land away, that's,
I don't want to take any away. I want to at least keep it the same or add more.
oh, well, yeah.
Keep the
that-
amount of acreage the same, just where the initial. I don't have my-
Why do we want to add more?
I'm just saying that maybe in the back piece of behind the solar, if it's so undesirable up there, that if there's an extra 3 or 4 acres that just
Just to throw it in there?
a net. Oh, right here.
So this is the property, so see, like, this is where the open space is right now.
Right, and what I'm saying though is, so whatever encompasses this 200-foot setback here, say this is 5 acres, right?
Right.
And we said, okay, we're gonna make it 8 acres, but put it back here.
And you're saying, but get rid of this, then?
Right.
Right, get rid of the conservation restriction piece. I think that we would still want to leave the deed somewhat restricted at this point.
Yeah.
So you want to lessen the restriction on Route 16?
Right, exactly, less of a restriction here, but, again, but keeping
Okay.
in harmony
Yeah.
with.
So you swap
I
it.
do know, yeah, it's probably gonna be very tricky, but I will definitely ask
Okay.
about it, but this is the easement to get in and out. This is what I.
Oh, okay,
I
and-
really wanna keep, make
Yeah,
sure that we
definitely.
keep.
And then, I
Right.
think at one point, original drawings had like two of them at one point, maybe that, but that might have changed, okay.
But I'll keep you,
Well, it just makes the land more usable, if you can kind of.
Correct. Okay, great, thank you so much. And thank you guys, thank you for all your hard work, that was amazing.
Is that the only, is that the only thing we have to do to get this?
oh, no, there's a lot.
No, she has,
But
So, nothing we have to talk
but
about
it's
now?
not things that you'd really need to worry about, you know what I mean? It's just, like, we have to have a management plan, we have to have the conservation restriction on the property, you know, just
Normal stuff.
expected things. This is sort of, we weren't expecting to do it quite so soon,
Okay.
but, so.
right, and you have the contract and project agreement, are they separate items on the agenda, or?
It's kind of related. Do you want to, it might behoove her to stay here for
Yeah.
that.
Just for you guys to, in case there are any
That's
questions.
the, consider signing Meadowbrook Uplands grant application that was added to the agenda.
That'd be
Do we
number
have-
12.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what that is?
Yes, the project agreement has to be signed. We have to authorize who can sign it, which would be authorized through you. And then there's the contract. All of this must take place before we can begin to spend any of the money that we expect reimbursement on, before we can go to the lawyers and start having surveys done for the conservation restriction on this land. So before any spending can be done, this paperwork needs to be signed and turned into the state.
This is the land behind the lake.
Yes,
That we
this
just
is
discussed
Meadowbrook, back to Meadowbrook Uplands, yeah.
Okay.
And we have I would consider it a relatively short window. All of this needs to be done by May, so all of the work on this contract in order to get the reimbursement.
And you had mentioned, Patrice had suggested, since Lonnie's term is up, that it might not be a good idea for Lonnie to sign it. That way, if there's an overlap in when this actually gets submitted and Lonnie's no longer, for some unforeseen
We can
reason.
authorize additional.
Right, so that.
So he can sign overall, but there's some lines to authorize additional
So that
people.
has to be added to that.
Okay, well, I would
As
just
well.
add the other two selectmen at this point, right?
Yeah, I guess. What am I saying? So, Lonnie, I move to sign the Meadowbrook Uplands Land Grant application.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
REIL, right?
Yep.
So, want to sign, you want to, should I move into the progressive yard sale?
I signed your name here, so.
One of those is noted that it's got to be notarized.
I did put the other, I put these guys on.
Yeah, the next page has to be notarized, so if you can withhold your
Oh, okay.
signature there, you'll have to,
And
do
there's
that.
2 copies,
2 copies of
2
each.
originals, basically, that have to be signed.
You can do it, yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so the next item is considering a request for the 10th Annual Progressive Yard Sale, Saturday, June 7th, rain date June 8th, and waiver of fee. Mr. Chairman, I move to allow the Friends of Mendon Elders to hold their 10th Annual Progressive Yard Sale on Saturday, June 7th, with the rain date of Sunday, June 8th, per their request, and waive the $5 yard sale permit fee.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I think I wrote 13. No, I did do it. One sec, get right to you.
We'll discuss deficit spending.
What's that? I'm told that there's audio but no video. Does the Finance Committee want to come up?
Deficit spending.
Yeah. Seems to, I don't know, we might need to get that checked, because that seems to be every week I'm getting that information.
Because it shows it on the monitor, big monitor.
Guys, go right ahead. I'm just gonna check something real quick, but go right ahead.
And then let me know when I do it. Do you want to do it again?
How you doing?
So I think we're going to talk about deficit spending. That's the topic. So we're jumping down to the last item on the agenda.
Thank you.
So,
Mr. Peterson's very happy about that.
Very happy. It's his fault.
it's no one's fault.
I don't need the deficit.
We're very flexible
Nothing
here.
to do with me.
All right, so something we do as needed every year, deficit spending. So is there a specific ask out there?
Yes, I sent an email out today
Yeah.
to the FinCom and to the board, asking that that both boards vote to deficit spend.
260,000, right?
260,000. Yes,
Okay.
hopefully,
That's fine.
hopefully that's it.
Where are we at? Where do we stand right now?
Right now, we have approximately 16,000 and change in the account with $34,000 worth of bills to be paid. And that's not counting any more snow or anything.
What was the original budget at?
147 and some change. Just shy of the 75%
Yep.
of the 5-year average for last year.
Okay. Well, I mean, we have to pay our bills, right? So,
How much short did we end up last year? It was like...
50.
No, it was bigger than that. I think it was 72, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was higher than
Something
50
72,
because,
yeah.
because we approved one time 60.
Okay.
so there's a, well, I'll put a motion out there to, I moved the deficit spend snow and ice removal account up to $60,000 through June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You
Okay,
guys-
so we gotta do the same thing?
Yep.
Aye. Now you gotta make a motion.
The deficit spending 60, I don't know.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion here? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Enjoy the snow.
If we don't get much more.
Thank you so much.
The warrant's further down. We're not doing the warrant next time.
Anything else?
I think we've got, we got library and we got
Okay.
solar and then
Yep.
stuff.
I don't think so. I'll see you tomorrow anyway. I'll come check that thing up for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alan.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
What do you want to do next? Library? Let's have the library. What do we got?
You might give one of these to somebody from finance.
Yeah. You can give, if you got a couple of them, you can give them to Rich. Do you have more than one?
Yes.
There's 3 members of the Finance Committee right there. 4 members. What do we got for, where am I here?
You got either library or solar.
Yeah, was library want to come up?
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, how you doing?
How we doing, all right? Good. The floor is yours.
We have been talking for some time about possible uses for the rectory. And that when we originally went to purchase the property with the buildings, it was with the understanding that that the bond would serve only to renovate the church for library use, and that over time, there would be a use for the rectory. And we've tried several different ideas. We discussed affordable housing, perhaps. We discussed, maybe facetiously, could we sell it and have it moved? I believe that there was some talk about it might be rented to a business. But we're at the point now where we really do need to make some decisions. I know there's been emails back and forth about should we be separating the utilities, and the answer was yes. But the architects are going to have some clearer idea of what they need to do as they deal with the church. Will they need to put in a firewall to separate the two buildings?
Right now, the buildings are separated by a breezeway, correct?
By a breezeway.
Yeah,
So if we just took the breezeway out of the equation, then they would just be two separate buildings, correct?
If that is, yes, that's an option.
I think that might, I mean, it's the breezeways, sorry, I'd have to go up and look at it again, but I mean, if I remember correctly, it's rather old, it's not, and it's just like a 3-season breezeway, it's not heated or anything like that, correct?
That's correct.
So it's more or less a concrete slab in between two with some screen doors, if you will.
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I would just completely segregate the two buildings out separately, and then with their own utilities and whatnot. If down the road we were even going to connect the buildings, we would remove the breezeway anyhow. So, I mean, maybe the worst thing that we're doing is getting rid of the concrete, I think. But I would say that would be my opinion.
All right.
And then they're completely separate, two separate meters. Is it oil heat in there correctly right now?
Yes.
But the furnace is functioning, correct,
In the rectory,
in the rectory?
it's not, the building is not being heated.
Oh, it's not, so
this
it's
winter,
been
no.
winterized, oh, okay, oh, even
Yeah.
better, so, perfect.
Yeah.
I would say that, I hope that we have, given I guess if I had to have my best guess of what would be the best for that, would be some sort of coffee shop, if you will, with the library being right there, to lease it out to a business that would, something along those lines, so that people go there, grab a snack or something while they're
Right.
at the library. So I guess that would be again, the best use of the facility, but I'm sure we'll come to an idea that will actually come to fruition there, so I think
Okay.
that at times there, but as far as keeping them separate, I would just have them remove that breezeway and be done with it.
All right.
Because it
And
just
then-
leaves the side door open, right? We might have to build a makeshift set of stairs
Yeah.
on it or something
Yeah,
temporary, but there's more than enough entrances to get in and out, too. So.
yes,
Right.
there are.
Those are only my ideas, guys, sorry, anything else?
Is there any thought that the library would want to use the rectory?
At the moment, we can't use it because it's not handicapped accessible.
No, but is there any plans where unless there was a plan for the library to use the rectory, there's no reason to keep it together. Go with your idea.
Well, but I
right?
was saying, even if there was a plan to keep it, that
No.
breezeway that's attaching it is like a screen porch, if you will.
No,
Yeah,
I
right.
understand, but
Yeah,
the answer is, if there's no current plans to do it, then separate it. I was just more
Yeah.
curious if there's any more thought to using it from the library's standpoint.
well, we talked about maybe offices, but we can't have offices in a separate building because they're built into the staffing for the desk.
Yeah, it's far too disconnected.
It's too disconnected. So, aside from possible
Storage.
storage, we really can see no way to use it now because there's no money to renovate that building.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I do agree that that breezeway, if at some point that were to be integrated into the library, that breezeway probably would not exist in the form it is now.
Right, it's not, like I
Yeah.
say, it's a part of the structure, you know, structure-wise, so. Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right.
Perfect.
Good.
Anything else?
No, that's it. That'll make the architect's job. Now they'll know exactly what they're working
Right.
with, and
Okay.
so that will be
What
helpful.
do you,
I was under the impression that there was going to be an update on the signing of the contract with the-
oh, I received an update, I'm sorry, I can actually,
I just received an.
yes, there was contact today that is actually in motion, and they're working through there was one issue with it, and they're working through it, so it'll be all taken care of shortly, was what I was told. So, Joe Cronin called me.
One more question back to the rectory. The parcel of land at the library, is that all just one parcel of land, or is the rectory technically on a separate parcel at this point?
It's all in one.
All in one right now.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day. All right, let's move to the solar bid.
Yep.
Come on up. Well, come on down, however you want to look at it. What's going on?
What do you want to do?
No, I think, we worked pretty diligently from about the second week in December.
I'm sorry, just jump in.
Sure.
Do you want to invite FinCom back up, have them sit in on this?
They're more than welcome to come up. FinCom, come on up.
I think they'd probably want to understand sort of the ins and outs of this.
Yeah, so just to recap, we had the RFP out for to go all the way back to the retail commercial. Unfortunately, we did have no respondents for that. We made a number of calls and emails to local regional developers. We had originally had some interest, from one grocery store, and they decided to pass. They said if anything, if the town comes back with something up at the intersection where the traffic lights are, they'd be definitely interested, but primarily between the steepness of the grade, the speed, the difficulty of turning on and off, that they just had to pass and didn't think the site was good for grocery. We had, throughout the summer, a number of calls, and we followed up on all of those, and, with the RFP, we just had, again, no responses on retail commercial. Going all the way back, we had put out the first solar RFP, I believe it was in the March timeframe, that got overcome by events in May when the governor shut down the first phase of the solar program. He did that because they had met the goal of 400 megawatts. That was for 2020. They met that. They were fully subscribed in the spring of 2013. So we put out the second RFP in November because we thought the new rules would be out, and they kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and we were potentially going to do an extension to that RFP. And the rules finally came out in draft form, PowerPoint form, mid-December, and they were actually published first week in January. Again, these are draft rules, but it was enough to, with the discussion of 25 to 27 solar companies, we had 6 that said they would bid. As it worked out, only 3 of those 6 did bid, but as we've discussed with Mike, 3 gives us 3 good proposals. All 3 companies, I think everybody at the table here has the summary sheets that we've put together. We met with town council on Friday in their offices in Quincy to go over the proposals. Those comments are noted on the top front page of the handout that you have. He felt, this was Brian, that all three were qualified. They could see no difference in the quality of the companies that submitted or their experience. And, obviously, we're the solar consultant on this, so we concurred with that. So initially, it looks like the financing proposal really is where the potential decision lies with the selectmen to make a decision on which group they might want to go with.
I think it's also important to note that Brian, town council, has dealt with all three of these companies on other occasions in the law firm. So he was familiar with them, familiar with contract negotiations. He had some companies that he was glad didn't submit, but he was happy to see these three. So he has dealt with all three of them before.
And obviously, I'm going to assume on a basis of he was reviewing documents for either another municipality or another entity. They weren't his clients.
Correct.
That's correct.
Yes. He was negotiating on behalf of a town.
Okay, with these other,
Yes.
okay. If you could actually give kind of a simple breakdown of what we're being offered here,
Sure.
each individual
Go ahead,
one.
Steve.
Yep. There were three proposals. There's AEE Renewables, Blue Wave Capital, and Sundurance Energy. They all came in on a per megawatt price. There was a typo or an issue in Blue Waves, but the price proposal holds. So we equated everything to price per megawatt DC. And so when I totaled up this sheet for you, it's all done on a comparison based on that. And then just to kind of equalize it again, since Blue Wave bid on 2 megawatts, I just took the other two and for financial reasons, for financial comparison, put those at 2 megawatts as well. Everybody is proposing to phase this project and hopefully get 3 megawatts, depending on what the line capacities are. So it starts off at 1 to 2, and everybody wants to go to 3. So it all kind of equals out. And so then you get left with basically price. AEE came in at $25,000 per megawatt, and they wanted to, they stipulated that there would be no pilot, no taxes for years 1 through 5, and then they would only pay 1% of the assessed value. Blue Wave came in at $20,000 per megawatt, so $5,000 less, with a 2% escalator, and then they estimated that their pilot between property taxes and real estate taxes would be $10,000, a little over $10,000, and then with the escalator, I calculated it out at $18,273. Sundurance came in at $35,000 per megawatt DC. Included in that, they include their pilot, and so if we want to negotiate the pilot out, but they came in at a whole price of $35,000, which was the highest between the three of them, and they came in with a 2% escalator, which when you put that on the 35 and you look at the spreadsheets, the delta just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So in year one, given each one of them, based on 2 megawatts, year one AEE would be $50,000. Blue Wave Capital would be $58,273, $58,273, and Sundurance would be $70,000. So that's fairly clear. And then I did a cash flow spreadsheet for the 25 years, which is the term of the proposal. The delta just keeps getting wider and wider, as you can see. Sundurance came in for a total payments over the 25 years of $2,242,000. AEE was the lowest at $1,612,000. And then Blue Wave came in the middle at $1,738,000. So, and that's based on 2. We anticipate 3, so we're hoping that the totals will ramp up. The reason that all 3 of them, and why I based it on 2, is that and one of the questions that I was asked last time I was here was, we're trying to deal with the net meter cap and expedited permitting and SREC 2. We were in Boston on Friday. We've gotten some clarification on that. There are going to be some thresholds that make a difference in the permitting. 2 megawatts gets you expedited permitting, which is why Sundurance did 1.9 and then 1.1. So they were going to do it in a 2-phase project. They would start on the 1.1 as soon as they got the permits for the 1.9. But if they apply twice, it's going to be more than twice as fast for them to do it, make 2 applications as opposed to 1 application for 3 megawatts. So that's why they've proposed to do it in 2 phases.
So just to clarify, you're saying if they go over the 2 megawatt threshold, the process slows down for them?
Yes, because the utilities then go into a normal review of the circuits. But if you stay under 2 megawatts, it's considered an expedited permit, and it can go through the utility much quicker, which is why everybody, and again, equally, figured that they would be in production before the end of 2014.
All 3 show a schedule that they'd be in production by the end of 2014, initially.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah.
Just because you've done a 2 megawatt cash flow. Now, Blue Wave, and I don't know if I'm reading, the system size is 1.5.
There's 1.5 DC,
Okay.
which ends up being 2.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
you're saying it's
the other way-
1.5 AC, so it's
The other
2
way
DC?
around. It's
AC/DC?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5 AC.
1.5 DC, I mean, 2 DC and 1.5 AC.
Okay. All right. And then, the 1.9 is close enough to 2. I thought Sundurance might have had a condition on the additional 1.1 based on net metering, no?
They're all conditional, every one of the proposals obviously is conditional on the state releasing and the net metering being available, because otherwise you can't, there's no user on the site, so it has to be net metered. So they're all conditional on available net metering.
So they're going to lift the cap. The state's going to lift the cap to make this work.
Okay, so do we want to get into the, because I'm ready to talk about the cap if we want to go
No,
cap, or do we
I'm
want to still
just-
talk about money?
I just want to make sure I understand what I'm looking at.
Yep, no, because I'll talk about the cap if you want me to jump into that now.
No, you can say, can we hold your questions and we'll get to the cap in a second?
Can you hold that?
say that.
Can you hold that and I'll get
I
to the
can,
cap in a second?
yes.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, is there any reason to believe that any of the 3, that the 3 of them wouldn't be, have the exact same capability to pump the same number of megawatts out of it?
That's correct. There's
You
no
understand
reason.
the question I'm
There were
asking?
there's no issues with any of the companies being able to perform.
Yeah, so that there should be no difference. If Company A could get 3 megawatts, Company B should be able to in the same time frame.
Their performance will be the same, and they're all self-funded. None of them are relying on borrowing money. So all 3 of these companies are self-funded, so they don't have to get financing, which is also very nice, because you don't have to worry about them there's no financing contingency in here. The only one who put a restriction on the net metering was AEE, and, I mean, on the net metering was AEE, who requested that they get the 400 kilowatts from the town of Mendon, and it was conditioned upon getting that PPA for the 400.
So saying that we would approve the usage of the 400 kilowatts.
To
for
be
the
net
town of
metered to the
Mendon.
town, yep.
And so they have a guarantee of at least selling that much.
Correct. And they were the only one that had a condition on that.
And they're all assuming the BVT LOI is going forward, right? They're
Correct. No
assuming they all have-
conditions on that?
But there's no condition on that.
So that's an.
Because that was not provided as part of the RFP, and I specifically said you could not condition it on getting BVT's PPA.
Okay.
BVT's PPA is available to them, and all three of them want to use it, but it's not a condition. So there's no conditions in these RFPs other than AEE, which said they wanted year 400.
And that helps get them up to the
Right.
3 megawatts.
Right.
And, you know, the other ones didn't go after that, but if they're selected, they're going to want to dialogue with the town
So
on
we've
that
got
opportunity.
You provided the Constellation contract, right? Did we probably need to talk about that then, right? In terms of, I think when you sent it to us, you said it expires in a couple of years, but we want to also look at it to see how that impacts a net metering agreement if we go into it, right?
But that was for residents to purchase, not for the
Okay.
town to purchase.
So it's not binding to us at all. We think,
I'm pretty sure that's.
pretty sure. I'm not holding you to it, I'm just saying. All right.
Yeah, and on that one thought, Blackstone Valley has a aggregator as well that they're dealing with, which is World Energy.
Yep.
And they're going for this 22.5% discount. So that floats whether it's off the full rate or off the aggregator rate, so.
There's two ways you can get the power. You can either do a power purchase agreement for the total amount, or you can get a discounted net meter credit. If you do the discounted net meter credit, you still purchase through your aggregator.
Right.
And then you get a discount on top of it, which is what Blackstone Valley chose to do, because then he's guaranteed his discount, and he can work with his aggregator to make sure that he's getting his lowest price.
So those two complement each other. They're not competing.
Okay.
So if you look at it purely on a financial basis, and Brian went through the spreadsheets with me, town council as well, clearly, Sundurance has the highest revenue for the town. The next question then becomes net metering. So now I'll answer your,
Before we get to net metering.
all right.
No, just the term. So we did everything based on 25 years. So do we confirm that each one of these companies is talking 25 now instead of, because I see 20 for a couple of them and 25 for one?
Yep, they each came through at 20. We spoke with them. They all said, yes, 25 years was fine. But they also came through with 20 with 2 5-year extensions. So they all came in at,
No, I just want to make sure when we
Yep.
look at the cash flow projections that those are all valid assumptions we're making, even though it's
Yep.
not quite.
Yeah,
outlined
I mean, we're going to have to, whoever is selected, we want to work with them to come up with the most advantageous contract for the town. So again, because as Steve just said, some of them bid 20, some of them bid 25, they will modify that to those negotiations with the town.
there. All right. Thank you.
Brian said he would take care of that.
So before you get to, I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Before we get to the net meter. So 2 questions. The first one is, I don't understand the tax piece of the financial.
Sure.
offer here.
Let me go back to, I'll go through each one of them, and feel free to stop me when you have a question. AEE has said for years 1 through 5, they want to have, be tax exempt completely.
Okay, get that.
Then years 6 through 25, they would take your assessment and pay 1% on your assessment. So whatever the assessment was, they would pay 1%. I estimated that at somewhere around $7,000.
Okay, so is that so right now the tax rate is 1642, I think it is, or 1602. So they'd pay 1% of that?
No,
Yep.
Okay.
No, they'd pay
Per thousand of they'd pay 1% of the tax based on the evaluation of the property. So if the property was evaluated.
1% of, if the property's valued at $100,000, they pay 1% of the 100,000.
That's
No.
not what he's saying.
No, they pay,
1%
because the tax rate is
tax.
$16 per thousand. So on a,
Oh, I'm sorry. But
On $100,000,
their tax rate
it
is
would be-
1%, though.
No, that's not what he's saying,
they'll pay 1%
of whatever the tax is.
of whatever your tax is. So if you figured out what the taxes were based on a 1622 tax rate and the valuation of the property, and the taxes came out to be $10,000, they're willing to pay 1% of that.
1%, oh, 1% of what the tax bill would be.
That's a
Correct.
difference.
Yes.
That's a huge
That's a
difference.
huge difference, because everyone else is paying 16%, including
Yeah.
all businesses and residents.
And there's no escalator in that.
Mm-hmm.
They just, boom, that's,
So I get AEE, 100%. Yeah, thank you.
Blue Wave Capital has said that they have negotiated other pilots, and what they are willing to pay is, they figured out what the property tax would be, which would be about $3,000 for the real estate tax, and then came in at about $10,000 per megawatt for the personal property tax. And then when you bump that up to the two, it totals out to be $18,273 based on paying the negotiated pilot and then letting you assess the land at whatever the current assessment is and the tax rate is. But they would negotiate a pilot of $10,000 and then pay the real estate taxes whatever they were.
The whatever everybody else pays.
Right.
Okay.
1622 times the evaluated value of the real estate.
Okay, so if up for negotiation in the pilot would be length and amount, right? Is that the idea? 'Cause
The Blue Wave is agreeing to pay it the $10,000 pilot per year for 25 years, and then the assessed value of the real estate at whatever your tax rate is for the 25
So
years.
essentially, their personal property tax is 10 grand,
Correct, fixed.
fixed at 10 grand a year.
Okay, I get that, yep, I get that part.
And then they're gonna pay the regular real estate tax
On top of
on
that.
top of that.
But after the pilot period. That's what I thought.
So the pilot's the whole time.
Pilots for the 25
Payment in lieu
years.
of
That's,
taxes.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
fine, understood.
So again, the pilot is mainly just for their personal property
I'm
tax
with
on
it
that
now,
one.
yep.
So again, they were lower on a per megawatt basis, but they were very
Again, this is-
competitive.
What we're gonna see here is, in these, is there's the toss-up, there's, I mean, unless,
Well, see, that's exactly what I'm
Sun-
getting to, because I'm trying to understand how Sundance
It-
can do it so that 30,
Right.
it can be 35.
yeah, so what, okay, so we'll finish.
So, so now, Sundance came in at 35 and said they're all in. But they're all in with a 2% escalator on the 35. So the 35 is gonna go up at 2%. So just trying to be comparative, I took $20,000 out and put that as what they were paying for taxes, which is more than what anybody else had proposed, and left their lease payment at 25, which is how I got to the 50. So that $20,000 now is also at a 2% escalator. So that they're proposing that that $20,000 tax payment will also escalate at 2%. So they're already paying more tax than anybody else has proposed, and they're escalating it at 2%.
Okay, but realistically, Sundance is really not paying any tax. They're paying 70,000 with a 2% escalator every year, and that's what we get.
Correct.
If you want to negotiate the pilot to be $20,000 and $25,000 in rent, it says that in the proposal.
Yeah.
If you want to negotiate out a pilot, because it all goes in the same
This
checkbook.
just goes
Yeah,
back.
I'm not placing a value judgment on it, I'm just trying to understand. That's all.
It all goes, and that's what Sundance figured, it all goes in the same checkbook, and they'd rather just have a 2% escalator on everything,
One
so they
number,
just
call it
said,
a day.
one number, 2% escalator, we're all in.
Yeah, if the assessor wants something in her pot, so be it, but it's just gonna get divided on however the selectmen decide to divide it.
I understand.
If they want that, if
They
they
can write-
wanted to
They
do
can
that.
write 2 checks every quarter or 1 check.
Okay, cool, thank you, I understand it now.
So, did I get the tax questions? Yes. Okay. Do you have any other money questions?
The reason why Sundance has more cash flow than the other two is because of the 2% escalator. Is that a fair statement?
That was
And
one
their
reason, right.
And their combined total for 2 megawatts is 70,000. The combined total for Blue Wave is 58. So they're already $12,000 more per year
Without the escalator.
without the escalator, plus they have a 2% escalator. So the combination of the two, the graphs diverge
Then add the
Even
third
more.
megawatt, and it's gonna diverge even faster.
Right, so it's just gonna make the differential bigger,
Yep.
because that would be linear.
And how is the negotiations with Sundance in regards to making the term 25 years?
We haven't talked to them specifically about it. They have said,
Yeah, we talked to them that day.
well, but I mean, it's not a negotiation, it's a discussion at this point. We just wanted to have clarification to the proposals, which I think is what you're suggesting.
No.
We haven't contracted with
No,
them. We haven't-
they've contract, they have to write the contract, on it, but
Correct.
we already asked them, and they clarified,
And they
yes.
said they would. do
25 years.
25 years, right.
So if we make a decision based on 25 years, we don't want to choose them and then run into a 20-year
That's correct.
discussion, right?
That's correct.
And that won't happen, right? Just to confirm that
If it
point.
does, then the way this is done, or the way I would propose this was done, and the way Brian agreed, is you can either bring all three of them in, or your first choice in, and make sure that you get whatever it is that you want. If you don't get everything that you want from your first choice, you say, thank you very much, and then you go to your second choice. So if you don't get the 25 years, you just go on to the next choice, and then the third choice. So it's completely 100% up to the three of you.
A lot of pressure.
Is that- Really? I say start with the highest guy, and we'll move down from there. I don't know if we want to move into that meeting. I have a question of what is based upon where I was in the discussion a little while ago about maybe possibly having the opportunity to relocate some conservation land, where, how much of the actual space do they need? Do they need the full amount of acreage up there?
For the 3 megawatts, everything is going to be behind the utility easement. So the front 12 to 14 acres that's kind of cleared from the utility easement to the street won't ever get touched for the 3 megawatts. Now, if you choose to have it expand to 6 megawatts, if the capacity is there, everybody has said, yeah, if the circuits are there and you want it to expand.
No, I know, but what I'm looking at right now is based upon what we were talking about earlier, along,
Here's Route 16.
Just
There's
clarify.
the utility easement.
So every one of these provider
So the 3 megawatts
bids
would get built
has it in the
on this
back? 'Cause I
side.
thought one of them had it, I thought Sundance had it in the front.
Yeah, and Todd apologized,
I don't know,
but
but.
it
I
says
can-
in the rear, in his narrative, and somehow his picture shows it in
They're
front.
okay with it, it's an oops.
Yep,
Okay, because I just want to clarify
It's not a problem, but
with the chairman, because I thought we wanted to leave the front clear for
That's
potential
correct.
additional use.
they were gonna go for.
and in the RFP, it's specific,
The way it looks.
Right. Well, so just real quick, Lonnie, we had talked about leaving the front clear for potential commercial use, things like that. So that's where we're at, where we have the land budding 16 open for further use, right?
Yep.
So now you were wondering if you could move some of the conservation restricted back here that we've just kind of,
Right, so I don't know what ends up happening with that, and again, it's only if it's feasible. I mean, because we can, first off, I gotta even see if what I've proposed is legal to do by the state. If it is, I can adjust in different areas to gain that acreage that I'm looking to relocate.
well, also, Lonnie, that 200-foot area that they requested along Runny Brook is the property line of the lot, so we're not using any of the 200-foot, or it's not in your front portion that you proposed there.
Understood, but coming up, right, there's the 200 feet,
parcel at the top of the hill, we want to
This
see. if
side?
we-
This side,
That's-
oh, that,
there's a
okay.
200, down
Along
in
the street.
16, there's a 200-foot setback there,
Yep.
which was always our commercial setback, which is now
Maybe move some of that to-
not in a conservation restriction as we speak, but was proposed that way. But if we can move that conservation restriction to the back half of where you guys are proposed right now, but I do like the idea that will be up there, kind of out of sight.
I mean, that was a
You
big,
also
big
have some-
concern, right? The visual of having it.
There's 3 lots. There's the lot up at the corner, then there's the lot that includes Muddy Brook, and then there's the lot 3, which we're proposing the solar on. Lot 1, which comprises the corner and has the easement across the front along the street, there's wetlands in that back corner, so you may be able to transfer it on that same lot, but instead of
To the
it being at
wetlands
the
where you are
street,
gonna be.
protect the wetlands in the back.
That's kind of what I was looking at, is where we can strategically place some of this conservation restriction. And, it might not even be a bad idea to, I know some residents that abut this portion of the town's property had some concerns if something was to go there, might be able to put some of the conservation restriction back there on their property lines to give them a little bit of buffer for whatever we did on that property. So there's some creative ideas that we can get going.
And all of the developers show between a 1,500-foot buffer to property lines, so we can also utilize that area for the conservation restriction, again, to protect the abutters, because there would be a buffer between the chain link fence and the property line. And then you could also put your conservation restriction on that as well. So even though we'd be back there, we wouldn't be using everything to the property line, no matter what, because we want to leave a buffer for aesthetic reasons for the abutters.
So in that 50-foot, okay, so now as far as, that back piece is a lot of trees. What does the, I suppose this would be more of a question, I guess, when we move into the next phase to talk to the developers, but what does that look like as far as, obviously, clear cut, you don't want it for the sun exposure, based upon the way that there's a couple angles here, what does that look like? Does that 50-foot buffer zone retain the vegetation in it?
Yes.
So they don't
That's
even
what
touch
is.
it?
Correct.
That's pretty important.
Yeah, particularly on that side you're talking about. You're talking about the north.
The north side.
And the northwest. There's no.
Yep.
There's
Yeah,
no-
right.
There's no shading, so no shadows, so they're not going to touch that at all.
Sure, okay.
Just on that point, all of them agreed to do the permitting and the procedure which I requested, which is first they will go out, they'll make their application to the utility immediately. They'll, and have a plan to the selectmen for your approval within 120 days to then submit for local permitting. So they'll come right in, but they're coming to you first, and then they'll go out and start all the other permitting. But the first thing they do is come into you and make sure you approve the layout and the scheme and the cutting and all that stuff. So you're stop number one. And they all agreed to that.
So you'll have a say on what their plan is going to look like going in. It won't be back and forth, and you get surprised. That's not their intent. They want to work with the town to make sure, between abutters and other open land that's left, how you want to use it, so it kind of plays right into the discussion tonight.
Any other questions on the financials?
Just one more. I presume you did this in an Excel spreadsheet or something.
Yes.
Is that something you could share with me? Because I actually would do this slightly different. I would have left Sundance altogether, then on the other guys that don't have escalators, leave the megawatt price alone, but then add 2.5% to the taxable amount every year to come up with a total net income, and it'd be more representative of what we'd actually end up with.
Say that again, because I want to make sure that,
Okay, so in other words, so in order to...
on which one?
In order to normalize it, right, what you did is you took an assumed amount of tax out of the 70,000 for the 2 megawatts for Sundance, right? I would have done the opposite. I would have left that alone, right? And then they wouldn't be paying any tax, so the escalator would be completely on that money, right?
Yep.
On the 70,000. Then on the other two, like you get, for example, Blue Wave, you're showing taxes 18,273 per year, right? So I would just add 2.5% to that every year and leave the 40,000 alone because there's no escalator on that one.
but they're only proposing no escalator on it.
No, I understand that, right? But
Blue Wave is not proposing an escalator.
I understand, right? But the taxes would go up roughly 2.5% every year.
They're saying they're going to negotiate a pilot, and it's a fixed price
That would be
for
fixed.
25
Okay,
years.
fine, okay.
On Blue Wave.
Okay, so then, all right, so then I would still just combine both numbers, right? Because you did something, so, unless maybe that the end result is the same. So I just want to see.
As far as Sundance, it would be the same, because I applied because they're proposing a negotiated pilot at roughly $10,000 with a 2% escalator. So you're saying taxes go up at roughly 2.5%? They're proposing a 2% escalator.
Okay, no, I understand, I completely understand
On
that part, but
Sunburns.
maybe you actually did what I'm saying, because I'm looking at the Blue Wave, and it looks like you used the number, on the bottom here, you used 58,273, which would be those two numbers together, right? So in other words.
The escalator was only applied to the 40, not to the 1873, because it's a negotiated pilot.
Okay, so does the 1.7 million that you total it up to include the per megawatt charges plus any taxes?
Pilot and everything.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay, good, then fine, I'm good.
but I'd be happy to provide you the spreadsheets.
All right, no, I thought you did something slightly different,
Yeah,
thank you.
but if you give me your email address, I'd be happy to, I just want to make sure I understood, so
No,
I
you
could
did.
answer your question on my
You did
spreadsheet.
it, yeah, you did it the way I do it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are there any warrants on the next town meeting that's related to this discussion?
Well, that's actually a question I had more from a process standpoint. I mean, we can award it, but don't we have to get agreement by vote on the contract once it's done and things like that? No?
No, we're the contracting
Good.
authority.
Ian?
There is one approval that,
It's a
there's
le-
two ways you can do it. You can grant a license for the use of the property as the selectman and let them move forward. The only way you can grant a lease is that has to go to town meeting. So if you can,
Yeah, you know what?
so the lease has to go to town meeting, the approval of the lease of the property has to go to town meeting.
So from a process, we've got a town meeting coming up, and then you got the annual. Next two that we have, and I'm guessing this probably isn't something that can wait till May.
Say it again?
This can't wait till May if we award it, right? We want this on the warrant we're gonna look at later tonight.
They would, I can tell you the developers would love to have that box checked.
Because they want to start spending money, they want to start spending money to get in the queue. You want them to start spending that money, so the quicker we can get the town meeting
makes sense.
approval.
I'm sorry.
I don't like to put it on this special town meeting, but I mean,
Right, that's, our two options are to put it on the special town meeting for the town to vote to lease the property, and what's the other option?
annual town meeting.
Annual town meeting.
Either way, we have to put it on the town meeting
Yes.
to lease the property.
Correct.
That's a 3-month wait, bottom line is what that equates to if we didn't do it now.
What's going on
Sorry,
with the-
what's the other?
Does it really make a difference? No. I mean, so if it's easier to put it on the warrant for the regular town meeting?
My only concern is that a special town meeting is not generally, we don't have a good audience.
Yep.
Annual town meeting is general, if we look at the last year, we can't say that.
Yeah, we go from 25 to
Generally-
35 persons.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But annual town meeting is generally a much larger attended
Yep.
meeting, and it's a pretty big deal. This is a pretty big thing that we're doing here, so.
I would not, I don't have a strong feeling that you should put it on the special town meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
Waiting for the regular town meeting is fine.
Does that impact the October 2014 targets that are been laid out here?
They're going to move forward because as part of what Brian will have you do, as part of awarding the bid, he'll have you grant a license. So they'll have a license to go on the property and start the approval process. So you will have granted them the license to start the process by doing that. Then the permanent lease would be granted at town meeting.
I mean, they definitely will go forward with spending the $7,500 for the interconnection application. Now, for some reason, if they were turned down at town meeting, I think the town would then be exposed to maybe pay them back. I don't know
No,
for sure.
no.
The thing is,
Going on
you know
their
what,
own
I don't.
risk.
There's absolutely no exposure to the town. It says that right in the document, that they cannot come back at the town for any costs associated with their approvals.
I would think so. So the thing, back
we'll
to the
take-
town meeting discussion, though, I don't, I don't know of any, that we have anything, on the horizon that's going to say that we're gonna have another huge, we're gonna get a huge turnout at annual town meeting, so, I don't, it doesn't matter to me. If it helps to expedite the process, then let's,
I mean, on the
Get it moving.
positive side, the town, I don't know if it was 2011 or 2012, but you zone this for a solar utility scale overlay. So that position that the town took and approved.
Yeah, but,
And now
we
we're
also
coming-
have an adult entertainment overlay, doesn't mean they love it. So, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. This is what we want, this is what the town wants to see there.
It's green.
Yeah.
So we're,
Oh, no,
we need to get on a town meeting warrant. We can determine which one either later this evening, or I think we've probably got something teeing up for next week anyway, is my guess, in terms of a meeting, to possibly sign the warrant, right?
yeah, I think we can probably throw it, you know what, I'd say put it on here as a placeholder anyway. If we decide before we sign it to take it off, Or pass over it.
Okay.
Yep. Not, I'd rather be, let's be ready for it. So this warrant that was supposed to be small is now 16, 17 articles deep.
But this town meeting was actually only for the bylaws.
Right. This money stuff popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know it's just for the bylaws, but there's 11 financial items on there now.
I don't know how they slipped through.
Me neither. Well, you know what? They might not slip through. We're gonna take them all off tonight.
All right. So let's jump into net metering,
All right,
shall we?
let's jump into net metering.
That sounds like a fun topic.
If I can ask you to be brief, only because I do have a couple other items to get to
Yep,
tonight.
no, I can be very brief. It depends on how many questions Mike asks me.
He's not, he's already used up all his questions for the night.
I'm being good. Come on.
Go right ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm delaying further.
As everybody knows, the net metering cap is exceeded or met in National Grid, your load zone territory. There's 160 megawatts.
106.
160, there's 106 that's going to be allocated, but there's 160 megawatts that is still pending approval. 40 of that has already been approved, so it's got provisional approval, which takes it down to 120, which are still pending. Of that, they figure there's still going to be a dropout rate of something that's going to drop out, which will then add to the 26, which they've allotted for additional for 2014, and then the 80, which they've added additional for 2015. So in the worst case, we're hoping that, and I can't promise because I'm not a politician, in the worst case, if they had to, they'd have to wait till January 1, 2015 to turn it on for the 2 megawatts. And in the very worst case, and we would make this recommendation to the applicants, that they be prepared that if they do under 1 megawatt, they don't have to apply for net metering cap assurance. So they could do 1 megawatt, get that in, next year do another megawatt, next year do another megawatt. So they can do it without the net metering cap assurance compliance form at all. So this will move forward, whether we get 2 megawatts by January 1st or 1 megawatt by January 1st. That's going to depend on how the
Legislature.
the legislature, or no, it's how DPU approves or disapproves, DOER, those applications. So if they throw out 50 megawatts worth of applications because they didn't meet compliance, then there's 50 megawatts worth of capacity which is available, which is why we want to get in the queue, because there's not very many applications in the queue, which is why we want to award this bid, so that we can get this property in the queue, then you'd be available for 3.
Quick question too, this is probably negotiated in the contract, but they obviously wouldn't start paying us until they start to generate some power. Does that
That's
make
correct.
sense?
Yeah,
That's
that's
correct.
what I got out of it too.
All right, so, okay, and I think that, from a business standpoint, makes sense. I think that I would probably be okay with that.
As soon as you sign the lease, they're obligated for the property tax.
Except for
Well,
endurance.
not the personal property tax, there's no personal property on
The
there
real
yet.
estate tax.
Well,
real estate.
Sundurance wouldn't be.
They would make legally they're responsible for it, so they have to make some sort of a way to deal with that.
Until they're,
So we would just take it out of their 35 until then, because,
yeah, I think that comes down to the negotiation portion of, hey, listen, you've got.
because they are legally responsible for the real estate
That
tax.
wasn't a question, it was a statement from me. I haven't asked a question yet.
There was a question mark.
You didn't want that to come off your tally, huh?
Go right ahead.
good.
Good. All right, thank you guys for coming in. Any further questions?
Well,
No?
one last statement. On the legislature, they are considering increasing the net meter cap. So it's important for everybody across the state that supports the program, obviously, Town of Mendon does, to work with your local state representatives and senators and tell them how important it is that they raise that cap. Because if the cap gets raised, now we're looking at this happening, the 3 megawatts happening sooner.
Right.
And there even may be opportunities above 3 megawatts, but let's just focus on getting to the 3.
You had mentioned last time that there was pending legislation.
Seabain has it written, and they're lobbying to get it submitted for this legislative session. So it's written, and it's sitting there, waiting for somebody to sponsor it. So it's there
Where's it sitting?
in Seabain's offices.
Okay.
The president of Seabain right now is not, his name is not coming to my head, but if you go to Seabain,
Okay.
Solar Energy,
Association of New England.
yeah.
I did email State Rep the last meeting we were in. He did get back to me saying that he was working currently with Medway on some concerns that they had about schools being able to get better incentives than the municipalities could, and getting those adjusted so municipalities can get the same incentive. And also that there is other stuff in the pipeline that they're working on to increase the caps. So.
Correct. And the current Seabain legislation is to just raise the cap for municipalities and public entities. So they're not trying to do anything with the private sector, but the public sector, where people want to save money, that's obviously an important issue for everybody. So the public sector, they want to be able to save money for municipalities and schools.
Okay.
Did I answer all your net metering questions? Do you have any more statements? No?
Nothing for you, anyway. There's some-
What do you think?
You had given me the blank net metering agreement.
Yep.
You don't want to do anything with that?
Well, two things. One, we got two potential motions. One, do we want to move ahead and award the lease? Number one, that's an option we have right now if we want to. I would ask from a FinCom perspective, do you guys have any more questions on what you're looking at? Do you want to take some time to digest it?
And again, we're available for FinCom to ask us, email, Steve can be the point, but
So I saw some dates laid out, like by the 31st, things like that, but I mean, if we don't do it now, we should probably plan on trying to do this within a week.
Well, I think that, okay, are we in agreement we're going to award a bid?
I have no problem with that.
Yep.
Then I would say that let's award the highest bid for starters, and we'll work our way down from there if we don't like what we hear in the negotiations. That's what I heard earlier, right?
Right.
all 3 are qualified. You want to award or try to award, get a contract with the highest bidder at this point.
So, and I don't know if FinCom has a quorum, but is there a thought you guys have, or individually, on where you're going?
I agree with what Lonnie's saying. The only thing I wanted to, I can't think quite that fast, right? We've had this conversation before, right? We can take it home and let it absorb, right? But the only chance I'd recommend something different is, for some reason, if I think that the calculation's not the way I would have done it, and actually one of the others look like they're better than the other. But the way, from the discussion we've had tonight, it looks like it's exactly what they've said. So I would tend to agree.
Yeah, they've all specified their escalator, so that the 2.5%,
Right.
you could put it in, but it wouldn't mean anything, because they've specified 2%.
Yeah. You could try to negotiate it, but
Yeah, I mean, that's up to, they
I
could.
think
they
that
could try to
at the end of the day, no matter what it comes down to, whether it's a pilot, or it's in the lease, or it's in the form of taxes, you're just gonna take it off of one side to bump it up on the other side. So, I mean, we're looking at, the long-term effect here, and what,
Which is exactly what my question.
Right, we're
question
making,
before
we're
was designed
we're
to do, just
essentially
make
making
sure
a deal for the lease of the
package.
property. I'd almost rather see, honestly, I'd almost rather see them pay the taxes and the money come off the other side, just for that whole perception of, oh, they don't pay taxes over there, that business doesn't pay taxes over there. So, I mean, so I guess that will come down in the negotiations then.
Yep.
We'll just.
And
That'll come down to your contract.
and they've specifically said they can do that.
I think that anybody would. Again, like I said, it's a matter of where does it fall on the scale, you know?
Yep.
To balance it out, so.
So am I hearing Sundurance would be the choice?
Be my pick, anyway.
So I move to award the solar lease for 36 Milford Street property to Sundurance Energy LLC.
Second?
Discussion? Just pending contract negotiations.
Pending contract negotiations
With them, yeah.
with Sundurance Energy LLC.
Second?
Sounds good to me. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Well,
Excellent.
we'll have Sundurance get in contact with the town council to get the contract and lease documents going.
All right. The second, the item that Diana just mentioned was the possibility of, do we want to reconsider the net metering agreement, non-binding letter of intent with Northeast Realty, I believe? Is that who it's with? And we talked about it before. We don't have to do that now if we want to kind of think that through a little bit. For those of you who haven't seen it, this is sort of the copy of what we're talking about. Did you get a copy of that?
I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Yeah, I did send it to you, the net.
Oh, yeah. I haven't studied it, though.
This might be something that maybe we hold off on, but I know that the BVT is willing to sit down and talk to us about why they went with the choice they made around the 22.5% discount and how they ran their numbers to make that decision.
Kurt said he'd be happy to talk to you.
Yeah, let's,
As the controller for Blackstone Valley.
yeah, let's get, could we see if he can come into the next meeting or something? Would we do that?
He said he would.
Come into our next meeting
Yep.
and we can discuss this to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, we've had no less than 4 meetings with
But
them.
let me say, he didn't,
I mean, I think-
he didn't just say he would, he offered
Right.
to come in.
All right, let's see if he can come into our next meeting.
Yep.
But we should probably have that wrapped up before we sit down with Sundurance, and that way they've got a better sense of that we are off-taking.
Yeah, so we'll have him, see if he can come into the next one. We'll
Okay.
understand that deeper and then go that route.
Yep.
Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Appreciate the work.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, going on the warrant next time.
Huh?
You doing the warrant next?
No, I'm gonna have the chief come up. And Dave. Are you guys just here for the warrant, or? Oh,
Mr. Bedrosian there for
oh,
Thank you.
or,
Strawberry Hill.
oh yeah, come on, yes. Come on up. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't even recognize you. How's everything going? Good.
So I was asked to come in front of the selectmen. Request that the name street. I started working, there is a name on the plan, I guess it's not.
Okay. Which one is this?
This is off of Vincent Road. So, this is the project here.
This wasn't, this isn't
It's not existing.
it's not existing yet.
No.
Yeah, okay, so this, oh, that in yeah, so we just want to name it Strawberry,
Strawberry Lane would be great.
I think the one question that was raised to us was, do we have too many street names with Berry in it? So- And that was raised from a public safety perspective, so I don't know.
Chief, you got a problem with the berries?
We are capable of determining the difference between a blueberry and a strawberry. We're okay with it. Whatever
Okay.
you want to do.
Approved. I move to name the street within Strawberry Hill Estates to Strawberry Lane.
Second?
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The big stuff, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for your
Sorry
patience.
about that. Have a good night. Old Road to Upton, I need to get some info on that. I will have it before the next meeting, I guarantee. All right, senior van, everybody else is here for the warrant, correct? All right. Everybody want to come on down? We'll bust through that quick. We got 10 minutes to get through this, so let's do it. Huh?
Can't take that long?
I don't know. Well, we gotta go through line by line the bylaw, so gonna send
Let's start there, shall we?
Will's got a couple concerns on the bylaw.
I would like to say this publicly, that I'm still disappointed that there are that many line items added to this warrant.
With the FinCom articles.
Either way, it doesn't matter.
I agree with you.
But they,
I actually expected it to be worse. I'm slightly pleased it's only this long. All right, go ahead, if you guys want to go, you want us to go through it? So we got, Article 1, to transfer from FinCom expense, sorry, to FinCom expense for FinCom salaries.
Yeah, that, we're just gonna take money out of the FinCom salary line and put in the expense so that we can actually replace the FinCom PC that's old and decrepit. We haven't been using for a long time. Poor Jean's been using her own machine. The thing is a piece of junk. We have all kinds of trouble with it. It causes all kinds of issues.
So you're gonna use $500 to buy her a new computer?
Oh, I don't think we're gonna spend that much. I mean, I hope I spend less.
And it's self.
Just a little notebook PC, just something relatively inexpensive.
Okay.
Okay.
So this really was a FinCom article that was generated by FinCom.
Yes, correct.
See if the town will transfer money from available funds to collector treasurer salaries, $232.95 to finish covering salaries through FY14.
So you might remember there was a calculation error,
Yep.
and we were doing all kinds of last minute jumping around here, there, and that one just did not get under the line. So we said we have to take care of it next time.
Sure.
So something was miscalculated, and that
problem.
fixes it, yeah.
Article 3 is for to repair the hole in the wallboard in the town hall stairway downstairs, $273 for the alarm horn, and $675 for shredding of documents, which are all behind us, behind the flag, which will allow the stage to become a stage again, and maybe we'll slide that flag to the backside of the stage with some lights on it or something. We can actually see that there's a stage back there.
Those lights aren't in the budget.
I think they're already up there. Well, we'll add it in right now.
The only thing that's not on there, as for an estimate, were the rugs to cover the wood flooring. I talked to Ann Mazar, and she didn't think that the rugs could come under CPA funds for historical. So
it should.
if they don't, though, if they don't, we're gonna have to allocate money for that.
When you say, you're talking about runners,
From the
right?
desks and whatnot, like area rugs?
It's preservation.
And on the entranceway, just to protect the floor
Absolutely.
from
The
dirt
runner,
and
the-
salt and.
Oh, but that's, yeah, we're gonna probably, that's in for this article?
Well, I put it in there just in case.
Oh, okay, I would assume that, you know, we'll probably hire, I mean, unless we're gonna buy these runners, I would expect that we would hire a service
So it would be,
to put down those types of rugs in the wintertime. In the summertime, I don't know that we'd need something so heavy duty that, you know, but in the wintertime, I would expect like Cintas or whoever comes and puts the runners in, that we would just get the service that's not very expensive every month, so.
but that would still have to be worked into the budget.
Sure,
But
hopefully
is that
it'll be next
into,
budget.
is this the 2014 or next year?
Because when are we gonna start to do the
Right.
floors?
Spring.
Right, so I think we're,
Okay.
yeah, I wouldn't worry about it so much right now. We will need something after they're done, but the winter, the summertime, I wouldn't expect that we have a big trouble with that right away. But I think we do need stuff for under, we're gonna need stuff for under the desks and whatnot, or at least pads on the desk legs. All right. Article 4, $695 for KBS remote server installation, $1,000 for a Dell computer for, oh, I probably shouldn't be discussing this.
Well, I mean, I just think the KBS thing's one thing, but when I'm looking for equipment, I'm not sure why we wouldn't try to roll that into our some sort of a budget line item, as opposed to just doing it on the fly. I mean, she's looking for an extra PC to gain some efficiency, which makes sense, but it's still an ad, I'm not sure I would. It just feels like something you should be targeting, kind of like the office upgrade. into more of a formal budget process to say, okay, we need to upgrade the town?
Well, right now, there's
Yeah.
no computer. Margaret and Peg can't work at the same desk all the way.
Has there ever been 2 computers in that office?
No.
And we have had an assistant town clerk, so I'm not sure why the situation's changed. That's sort of my take on this.
Yeah,
Just saying.
sorry.
I'd rather get a network in place where you could probably, if needed, do.
I don't think that's the issue. I don't think that, because my understanding is that she doesn't need a monitor or keyboard or mouse. She's flipping back and forth because of some issue with one or the other. I mean, we
Ready?
should- yeah.
I'm going to explain.
Okay, that's fine.
Start explaining, Lucy.
There's only one computer that's usable for town stuff in that office.
Right.
You're exactly right.
Right.
On the other part. It's rather inefficient where there's a whole other PC setup with a state computer on the other side.
Yeah.
What we can do is just buying the PC and in a switch box
Yeah.
allows you to use, 2 PCs on one keyboard, mouse, and monitor. They can just switch back and forth. And that was when I sent over the estimate, that was just the thought process was, yes, that makes complete sense to gain more efficiency in the office. So, at the end of the day, you're right, there's always been 2, why is it all of a sudden an issue? Maybe it was always an issue, now
But
it's just.
longer term, though, it's kind of like talking about copiers and printers and scanners, is there a better way to handle this from and this is maybe something where you want to kind of defer.
Sure. Well, I think that, whatever.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I think that this is an ad, but you're 100% right. There's the whole building needs new computers, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it would be a really nice capital improvement project to see. There's some that are running, that don't even have a professional level of Windows operating system on it, that it can't even connect to the domain. You have to have, map drives and do all kinds of craziness just to make it work.
But do they need new computers, or do we need to look at something?
But they need new computers. I mean, right now, you're running Windows.
Well, I'm just talking about, they need new tools. I'm not sure everybody getting their own
Computers are
PC.
outdated. The
Yeah.
computers are outdated. They can't
And
handle.
we were going to talk about looking into cloud and stuff like that, so software as a service, things like that. So, I mean, are there better ways to kind of let these guys do their job than having physical towers at each and every station for each person? You know what I mean? That's sort of what I want to think about.
Yeah, you wouldn't get away with needing a CPU, though, with a peak computer.
Best case, you're looking at a thin client. That would connect to, your terminal services in the cloud, which is definitely a possibility. But you're talking, like ordering this PC right now is not, like, we're not that close to that to say, don't get this right now.
Right.
I would say you're looking at that at the end of the life cycle of that PC.
But we are
Which is
also
4
going
times
towards computer upgrades for Windows 8 coming up, which is a across-the-board type of change, right?
News to me.
Well, that's something that's out, I mean, there's needs to be some upgrades on the Windows.
That there are at least 11 computers that are still using Windows XP.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, those.
XP's a good operating system.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not
but
going to be supported.
It's not supported anymore, there's no updates for it anymore.
The security,
Wi-
it's got a lot of issues.
Windows, if anything, you should be moved, right now, Dell is, they're selling their computers with Windows 7 with a Windows 8 license, so you can go to Windows 8 when you're ready, for everybody that's nervous about it. Windows 8.1 or whatever.
So I'm thinking too big, and you're suggesting we're probably not ready for the step we're sort of talking about necessarily.
We just got this server stable here, so yeah, we're still a little bit down the road for the other piece of it.
So just my 2 cents worth is just this, like a whole bunch, like the conversation we had today, Lonnie. We're drip feeding.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point you're making. And
Yeah.
to me, if we never had it, then I'd almost rather wait till we get the administrator done, let him figure out what we need, we have a bigger plan, and we take care of it.
I mean,
If it's causing that office to be inefficient, how long would that be?
Honestly, from my perspective of it, and you know what, I'm being trying to kind of tiptoe around this because ultimately they're buying the computer from me, but go buy it from somebody else, but still buy it. That's not why I'm saying again, it's an inefficiency in that office. To see 2 people sitting there and only to share a computer at this day and age, I mean, I don't know.
I guess the problem I have with that
The
is.
thing is, I don't know why it's not, I don't think it's $1,000.
I don't know. But I guess the problem I have
Oh,
is
wait.
that, is that if that's the case, then why wouldn't somebody, when they added the person, say, okay, this
I need
person's no good
equipment.
to me without a computer?
Right.
I mean, that's just silly.
I
Right, well,
think they've been
for-
juggling around
for this-
since she started.
And again, this becomes an item of the whole thing we've been working on, and that is, when we had somebody, but again, this would have been so far under the radar, we would have never even asked it, because it was a replacement of a person, not an ad. This isn't an ad of a person.
Well, yeah, but I mean, to me, that's why is it an issue right now that we have to do on a special town
You know
meeting?
something, I don't know.
That's
That would be a
mine.
question to ask the town clerk, I guess.
Right. I mean,
I noticed on the agenda, you guys have a whole thing about infrastructure for computers, telephone system. I was just curious where you're at with that.
We're on the warrant right now?
Yeah, I just, oh, I'm sorry, we already finished the warrant.
Just to be brief on that, the phone system information, I believe, has already been all gathered, and again, I'm trying to
we
say.
need a third bid, but we did, of the two bids, we now have the documentation, we need to look at them.
So, that was, the phone system, what needs to be left upgraded for the phone system, based upon what we currently have out there, is the town hall / PD piece.
Yeah, I was actually more interested in the part about the computers, because I listened to the thing with the town clerk's office. I have the same problem at the fire station, with outdated computers, so I'm just curious.
So I think that.
And I'm not sure what the answer is, but if they say they need one right away, then
I think the
something you have to
answer
deal with
is, I don't even know why I thought of this today, but I had no idea this conversation was even going to take place, but we just needed, we've been doing this in our other municipal clients, is that we come in, we actually do a full inventory of what you've got, assess what the age of the computers are, what you have for operating systems, what you have for office.
See, if we had good support, our support people would be in here giving us a recommendation.
I can recommend. You might need an override. The computers are definitely getting to a stage of.
No, and,
So, I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as we get to the 5 public safety articles, right, and some of the other stuff on here, I mean, it's just, we only have so much money, and if
Right.
we don't gotta have it, I gotta tell you, we swing.
But
Okay.
this is also like the phone system. We are going to need to deal with outdated equipment. My question is, can infrastructure like this be a capital expense?
I don't know.
You know, if you look at, municipal network and hardware upgrades as a single purchase,
Yeah.
then why can't that be, maybe that's what we should be thinking about with CapEx a little bit too.
If it's a project that's over
My,
$25,000.
yeah, my bigger concern right now is that it's coming out, I mean, I think you said drip feed, so we get this one thing coming out of one office, and now we're hearing, okay, I've got hard equipment needs, right? That's gonna be part of the budget process. I mean,
See, that's
So for instance, in the treasurer collector's office today, the PC that's at the treasurer collector's counter, the one that they look up bills and stuff at, that thing crapped the bed today.
So I do think you got a lot of computer issues. What's always, I have almost 30 years, and what's always been the problem is that we decide we've got all these issues, a little bit here, a little bit there, and we let it sit, and sit, and sit, and then we have this monster expense, and we go, wow.
But we can provide, sorry, I'm trying to shift gears and switch hats here. By taking the inventory, we can actually provide you with,
Short and long-term goals.
right, well, or an overtime, listen, buy 3 computers a year, you have your emergencies that are gonna pop up, but if we've got 15 computers to replace these really old ones, these 3 first, we'll find a timeline that works, because in reality, it's not, if you do it that way and you're taking a small bite at it over, 3 to 5 year period, it's not that expensive, and you can fit it in your budget.
But right now, we have so many pieces that are old. I'm putting in work orders literally every other day
No,
because something's breaking.
I think there's a larger, there's a bigger need more immediately, but I think looking at this, the same way we look at vehicles, right? Where we rotate vehicles, same idea with
Exactly,
equipment,
same thing,
right?
ambulance, same thing.
But I think there's sort of a starting point we gotta get to get the municipality to the right level to start, and then kind of build that in.
Look, this is part of what I do for a living, as well as you do, Lonnie, and I can assure you that reactive purchasing costs you more in the long run. It absolutely does, every time. So that's all I'm saying.
So you want me to get a quote for 3 new computers?
Go ahead.
Actually, I thought 20 probably.
Only kidding.
No,
Anyway,
I do think we should reach out, though, and set up some time for somebody to come in and start the inventory. Seriously.
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell her to,
There's an open work order for engineers that
Alan has,
there is?
since
Alan
July
has-
of 2015.
Yeah. There is?
Is it a cost item? Do we have to pay for it?
No, it'll just burn time.
Alan has requested if he can get his computer upgraded to Windows 4, I think he said.
There you go.
Okay, so, but keep in mind, there's another piece of this same article we're on. The AccuPrint software, for the final move from the 2003 server that KVS was running on to the 2012 server that we've just put into place, that software will need to be upgraded. We did know this upgrade was, they wanted us to upgrade quite some time ago. We kind of just kept putting it off because of the cost, but we're at that stage of the game where we're gonna need to do that now, so.
And does that mean that everybody's going to need Windows 8.1 to run that?
No,
That's the way I understood it from KBS.
I will verify that tomorrow, but,
yeah, that might be a showstopper.
what do you mean? AccuPrint, no, AccuPrint just goes through the server to print the check out. It's not, that doesn't run on anybody's PC, it only runs on the server, which is 2012, which actually looks, unless there's AccuPrint running on, no, I think that's wrong, but I'll
We are
check
so
it.
close to Article 5 right now.
Article 5. We're gonna pass that over.
So the
I'll
town
tell
clerk's
you.
computer is not going to be included in this?
I think it is.
You're gonna keep it?
I don't, we gotta vote on that one, because I don't want to put it in.
Oh, I can't vote on it, so you guys have at it.
Article 6.
How the heck do you even do that?
Well, you would abstain and they would simply vote.
Well, I think,
What if he says yes?
And the
Then
FinCom breaks it.
No, then it doesn't move forward.
Well, then just, okay, so,
so right
No matter what,
now,
there's
we have
only-
one article, multiple pieces. KVS, Mark, do you
AccuPrint.
agree that's in there? The remote server installation?
Yep.
Then you got the AccuPrint forms, do you agree that should be in there? The 8.1 probably is just more of a placeholder to say we might need to do it soon, we don't have to worry about that.
there's nothing that requires 8.1 at this point. There's nothing that requires Windows 8 at this point.
That would amaze me if that.
Yeah, because
then-
that upgrade has been since before the 8 even came out, so I don't know, I'll find out though.
So the last component of that article, Mark, is the new laptop for the town clerk's office?
I
I'm,
think we can pass that.
okay, so we're in agreement.
Done.
So you have to make a motion to modify that article.
Well, there's no.
Well, we haven't,
No, there's no, not yet.
But we understand what you're saying, and when we meet, we get it.
Yeah, not yet, because it's not closed. Okay, Article 5, 25K. Dave Kersey, go.
That's gonna be to reinstate Officer Cinco. We're gonna have a shortfall, he's back February 1st. He's supposed to be back July.
Oh, this was the concern we had,
and
we knew this.
he's even earlier than you thought, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, he's even early. February 1, he's back on the schedule. So,
which is good from an overtime perspective.
Article-
He's back, so if we don't get it at the end of the year, we'll be short. So this is the one we're gonna be short.
All right, then I'm curious to hear about Article 6, if that's
Article
good
6.
from an overtime perspective.
Was that overtime or the point?
It's
Yeah,
overtime.
I've got different numbers here, so you'll have to kind of, you must have an updated warrant
Add one.
to each one of them.
Yeah, I think you must have the one before she
All right,
added.
so which one are we on now?
210.
Police overtime.
Overtime, 25.
So police overtime, as you know, we've had roughly 40% of the department out for most of the year, with some really amazing medical conditions. A couple of them actually were life-threatening. One is still out, just had surgery again today, and will be out for the foreseeable future. And the other one that had a very serious life-threatening surgery, he has returned. We had another one with a ruptured artery from shooting at the firing range. We've had some unusual stuff, and then, of course, we've got the guy that was deployed. So we've had about 40% of the department gone almost the whole year. That's our problem. Very, very unusual. In fact, we've never had this many out injured at the same time. So that's the issue for overtime on the police side.
Article 7, Quinn Bill?
So does Cinco give you any relief, or is this making up for what you've already spent?
Well, that's kind of how we're getting to that number. It'd be even more if we didn't have him. Just to fill one shift is about $600.
Yeah, 5 to 6 minutes.
No, I mean, this is what you mentioned at the last quarterly update, so that you're just coming back based on what we said.
If we calculate it out all the way to the end of the year, including what we have in overtime right now, we need about 38,000.
Okay.
So we're gonna try to make it do with this, she said.
We're going to run shorthanded.
What was the type of, what was the original overtime budget for this year?
80,000. It's about 1,500 a week on average.
And this is the only ad we've done so far, right? Okay. So that brings it to 105. Thanks. Article 7, Quinn Bill?
That's, part of, Officer
Cinco.
Cinco, that's his.
Oh, okay, because he's back.
Yeah, yes.
15,000, Article 8?
On fire
Fire
department,
department?
our issue there is we've got a full-time firefighter that has been out for probably 2
Medical
months
leave.
now with
Yep.
a back
Back
injury.
Yep.
And the sense I'm getting is out probably till, probably most of February as well.
20K, fire expense?
Dave, go ahead on the expenses.
Our ask for next year is about 165. With this 20,000, we're getting to about 163. It's just where we should be. It's what we spent last year. It's
And where we,
probably what we're gonna spend next year.
where we were, I think, 4 years ago, we were budget 160 or 162, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't have it right off the top of my head.
Expenses, just really quick, what falls under these items?
Everything from fuel to maintenance of the vehicles to computer repairs.
No.
Monthly
Those are under
phone
contract.
bills.
Fire vehicle maintenance is through the roof.
Yeah.
What is it?
The fire vehicle
is
maintenance,
through the roof.
because we're
Yeah, I
sending
understand.
everything out.
I think it's over at least 15,000 right now.
So this has to be on the February, you wouldn't be able to make it to the annual with this?
I would say, with expenses, probably not.
I don't think, now, also, isn't there a concern with the annual where?
I'm not even sure.
You can't put articles from this,
Well, yeah, it can't go on the annual, they have to do a
we'd
special
have to do
town
a
meeting.
special before the annual or after the annual.
Yeah, we always have a June special, but yeah.
Yeah, right, but that cuts us
But we
a
haven't
week.
made it to June.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to explain it.
We will
to
not
Mark.
make it to June.
So I just have a comment on this. So Officer Kersey and I met, and we discussed these in detail. And, right, I gotta double check with Claudia on this. And of course, we're gonna talk about a couple that Alan has too, adding another, almost $18,000 to what we have to spend, right? Now, presuming we all support it and the town votes and says yes, we will be very, very low on available cash to get from places. So I was very clear, right, we had this conversation, you and I, Dave, right, where if we do this and we get behind this, then this has got to be it. You got to find a way to make it through the end of the year, come hell or high water, because it's not there. We don't have any more to go.
Well, we certainly try to make it to the end of the year, but I can't tell you that, I might not have 3 cars involved in a crash or something, I mean, sure. For barring any unforeseen events, we'll certainly try to get to the end of the year and not spend all of it if we can.
I totally get that, but all I'm saying is there's just nowhere to, I don't know what we do. And that's how razor thin we're gonna be.
Sure, okay. Makes sense.
And we understand that, we know that FinCom's in a tough spot.
Repairs, Alan?
Vehicle repairs?
Yeah, road machinery, we got 15,800 for the Ford F-350 and the mowing machine?
Yeah, the mowing machine, that's gonna be a big expense. I gotta do it, get another machine or not mow. And then, we spent $3,500, I believe, on my, truck this year on motor problems. There again, it wouldn't be running if we didn't spend it.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
Okay, no,
That's what
that's
that's
fine.
all about.
Sandblasting the fuel tanker?
Yeah, we had to paint the fuel tank, the diesel fuel tank. That was just a little, I guess you could call it an oversight on my part. I never really looked at the inside of it, because it has a 110% containment, so if it gets a leak, but the containment has covers on it. I never really looked inside because I thought it was covered. But it's 10 years old, and the paint was starting to go on it,
they were starting to rust on the inside, and we had our inspection from the people from Stormwater. That was one of the things that they looked at, and they recommended that we sandblast the tank before we have a problem, and it's a good thing we did.
Perfect.
So it's preventative maintenance.
Preventive maintenance.
CPC, $6,000. TTO hopefully 12.
This is the,
This should be the last year of mechanical. Oh, this is for the, yep. Okay. So okay, then we got the Article 13 is $9,000. This is for the floors?
Yeah.
Okay. 14, CPC, Pheno property stuff. Oh, this would be for the conservation restriction that we discussed for the Pheno property.
Yep.
$500,000 to purchase the Paddock D'Alessandro property.
Hold on with that one.
We got a hold.
They had never mentioned, they mentioned here the senior center, but they don't mention that the taxpayers have to pay for that part of the senior center.
I spoke with Ann today about that because, obviously that was a concern.
Yeah.
And she said that the engineers looked at the layout of everything with the senior center, and they said most likely we can expand the senior center on the current property. That way we could use the CPA funds to purchase in full that piece.
We're meeting, the land use committee meetings tomorrow night, so we're gonna be discussing this, I believe, so, I hope I would be able to speak better on it too, after tonight.
Does that include the farmhouse and barn?
I don't know. I didn't go walk the property with him because it was snowing that day. I have to say, I decided
it was
against
snowing, it was raining.
My sneakers were wet.
But what I hear from the senior center is that they cannot expand on their own property.
Well, just from what I heard from Ann, from the
Let me find out.
engineer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, just while we're on that topic, just something to throw in the back of your mind, that the COA would like to find a way to get some funds at some stage that allows them to complete a study that tells them exactly what they'll need space-wise, because a lot of the discussion we're having now, the folks at the COA can't exactly tell you because they're not entirely sure exactly what they have to have.
Everything else is bylaws.
You all set with us?
And I'm special coming back from vacation for it.
For what?
The barn.
Coming back. I'm only kidding.
Will, you know what I'm having for dinner tonight? You know what I'm having for dinner tonight?
He loves.
Chicken.
Not from around here, you're not.
Do we need to sign this tonight?
Oh, you want to sign this tonight?
Well, we gotta, actually, we might have to put the solar thing on it,
Okay,
right?
let's just hold on.
It can wait.
Thank you guys for coming in.
Next Tuesday.
Have a good night.
So we need to, we might need to meet next Monday then, to sign this at a minimum, is what I'm hearing.
Okay. Huh? Are we done?
We potentially could talk about veteran work-off abatement program,
Yeah.
BYOB policy.
Oh. Is there anything on here that's critical?
Yes.
What do you got?
Pothole application.
Pothole application. Not for the potholes in the street.
Is this is this the Foundation Reserve Program?
Yeah.
Doesn't say pothole on it, it didn't quite,
That's.
So this is the petitioning for the state for funds to go towards, deal with sort of the foundation funding for schools. So referred to as
What's the
potholes.
earliest we'd get, potentially, assuming we were successful, what would be the earliest we'd get funds?
I'm not really sure.
Application's got to be in by January 31st, 2014.
Sign it.
Does this-
verified those numbers with Jay Byer. It goes by what our assessments were, or our contributions between all the districts were involved with, and then it gives the percentage change from FY 13 to 14.
Does BVT impact us at all?
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, do we include BVT numbers into this?
That is included.
Okay, all right.
But that's only this year, this current fiscal year,
Right.
and previous.
So we can do it next year for we're gonna get handed to us this year.
Right.
Minimum local contribution increase for BBT,
Yeah.
$91,000.
I was told that.
I don't know why you guys are all working.
Mr. Chairman, I move to apply for the FY14 Foundation Reserve Program.
Second?
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye. And Mark needs to sign this, is that right? Or we all do? I'm doing this one? Okay, annual town report. I move to dedicate the 2013 annual town report to Douglas Taylor.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Oh, is that it? Anything else you have as priority? Oh, time's up. No, I'm only kidding. Is there anything else that's a priority on it? Deficit spending we did, foundation we did, Meadowbrook Upland Grant we did. Yeah, that's fine.
Anything else?
To attend the special town meeting?
If we're gonna do the lease,
I know, but that bylaw's on there.
It's gonna fail anyway.
Oh, you think so?
Well, you know-
Come on.
I don't know, I haven't read it, I'm being silly.
Well, regarding those, the planning board bylaws, they weren't reviewed by Bob Mangiardi.
I know. They're-
So-
Oh, the other council will be there.
yeah, but, dude, do we,
No.
I'm just,
For the
The planning board council will be there.
I've never met him.
do we want
Yeah,
Bob
he
there
was at
for
the last- he was
the
at
lease?
The last special town meeting we did.
I'm thinking we should have him there for the
He
lease.
was at the other, oh.
Let's invite him for the lease.
So you're definitely going to have the
Do you
lease
think?
on the,
I think that's where we're going,
Don't
right?
have Bob come to the special town meeting.
For the lease?
for the
No.
lease.
Well, I don't know, I think to enter into a lease, I don't believe, I don't know what would come up with legal questions for the town to allow us to enter into contract negotiations for the lease. We're not discussing the contract at the town meeting.
Right.
We're only, the town is just authorizing us to lease the property.
Was that question brought up at one other meeting?
Well, I could see it going down the same path of just the, going into negotiations for the easement.
Right.
That was an interesting discussion. But anyway, what we can do is maybe talk to Brian and Bob just to kind of get some.
I mean, trust me, I
we-
did nothing more, I love hanging around Bob, so. Have him come by all means.
What's our town council budget running at? That's
A lot. We just had all that money from, an issue we had with the town.
Make a motion not to support the town council coming to SDM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll talk to him on the phone before.
It's not a real vote.
What we'll do is, I tell you what, tell him he's on standby, and if a question comes up, I'll call him.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Fair enough?
Sounds good.
You get charged for that?
No. We have a lot less than if you sit there.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Discussion? Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Hey, Lon, did you do something to the wireless in here?
I did, yeah, you gotta rejoin. MDNTH, I just changed the,
Oh, crap, I don't, can you give me the thing again? 'Cause I can't get it.
68 divided. All right, turn this off.
Oh, wait, one second. I'm sorry.
Let me just grab some.
Okay, you know now? I know what? It's one of these games.
talked about a date for the,
Yes, ma'am.
the final three candidates.
Oh, I don't even have it made up yet, to be honest with you. Yeah, I haven't made it up yet.
Gee, that's already February.
Slacking, isn't it? 3 weeks away. I'll probably do it over the weekend. So when I get it done, I'll automatically,